This episode is sponsored in part by PTZOptics. Why hire a camera operator when the control is in your hands? Visit PTZOptics.com for more information. And by NewTek, makers of the TriCaster TC1. Stun your viewers, not your accountant. Visit newtek.com for more information.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Salt Talk, the show that helps houses of worship interact and get their message out to the world. And we have a very special show for you today. Greg Terry is out there hiking in the desert of Nevada. We're going to get to him in just a little bit, but we have a little bit of housekeeping here that we want to do and tell you about some of our upcoming shows that we have for you guys. And we want to make sure, especially you houses of worship, we want to make sure that you tune in tomorrow. Is Tess Protesto and crew from the PTZOptics show and Huddle Cam show. They're going to be doing a show with our product manager, Jeffrey Robinson, about the MIDI release. So what is MIDI? You're going to find all that out tomorrow. And for houses of worship, if you're using ProPresenter and some of these other platforms that support MIDI, you're going to want to check this out because it will trigger presets on our cameras if you're putting up certain shots in ProPresenter or Easy Worship. It's really cool technology, so you definitely want to tune in for that as well. And then at the end of the month, I think it's the last or the third Friday of the month, okay, myself, Matt Davis, William Goldie, we do our Tech Town Hall for PTZOptics and Huddle Cam live, and we go out and we find some of the nerdiest, geekiest topics that sometimes make your head explode, and we break it down for you to help you understand how you can be successful in those areas, whether it be your house of worship, your schools, government agencies, it doesn't matter. We break it down for you, so it's definitely something you want to tune into on the third Friday of the month. So without further ado, I want to welcome some of you guys here in the chat room. I see a bunch of you guys in here. Go ahead and throw it in there. We see Roll Off, and I know when Greg gets on, he's probably gonna crucify the way I pronounce some of these names and such because I apologize, that's not my forte. He's the traveler, but we've got some guys from all over the world here. We got Parker in here. We've got Tim all the way up from Indiana. Greetings as well. We've got Ami. Is that how you say? Is that how you say your name, Ami? I guess that would be. But we welcome you to the show. And what we want to do right now is take you, without further ado, we want to take you to Greg Terry doing the install. I mean, it's an abbreviated install. And then hopefully we can get him on here if you can get him off his camel. So let's take a look at this.
Good morning. I'm Pastor Kerry Dyer, pastor of Copper Hills Bible Church in the great location of Urington, Nevada, middle of the Nevada desert. We've been pastoring here about 4 years. During the early days of the pandemic, when they shut everything down, we started broadcasting our services live over Facebook using an iPad. And it was sufficient and it worked, but a lot of our listeners were complaining about no sound, pictures in and out, but it was the best we had. So fast forward to today, June 23rd, 2022, we contacted Greg Terry and we have ordered a camera system. And from this point on, we will be broadcasting live via the camera through our soundboard. So it should improve our volume, should improve our picture, should improve our presentation.
It's going to improve everything. They're going with the PTZOptics 30X NDI GY. Of course, that was recommended by Stephen Haywood, who did all the planning on the back end. And together we're a team. So here we are early this morning, and it's time to get it going. All right, sir, so here's your camera. This is a PTZOptics 30X NDI. Look a little different than that iPad you were streaming with earlier?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so of course this will be all set up here in a little while. We'll be installing today Got power there, but we're not going to need it because we're going to run PoE, power over Ethernet, through a switch and get them all dialed in. So here it is, and the boxing's undone. Time to get to it. How about a smile?
It is an exciting day. We've been looking forward to doing this for almost a year now. So
Awesome.
we're ready.
Here we go. Let's get to it. All right, here's Chris. We've got the, let's see, we've got vMix installed, and now it's time to put the camera dead center. Here's the 30X going up, shelf is built, and Chris is putting it into place. Of course, this will be dead center, and after a lunch break, we're gonna come back and run the Cat 5. We'll be running PoE, no need for power. And Pastor Kerry, how you
Sure.
feeling this morning? A couple of hours that we're cooking.
Yeah, I'm getting excited. I can't wait to see this dude operate.
Yep, and a beautiful, beautiful sanctuary here in Yerington, Nevada. So, Pastor Kerry, and there goes Chris going off into the abyss. How great thou art, how great thou art, and where thy king, that God his Son brought sparing, sent him to die. Pastor Kerry Jr., your PTZOptics 30X cameras installed, vMix is rolling, new sound system. We're streaming tonight live for the first time with the new equipment. How is it?
Awesome. Absolutely wonderful. Everybody is complimenting us on how great it sounds on Facebook Live.
How about the look of that camera?
Oh, it's crystal clear.
Let's go outside and show people where we're streaming from. Take me outside.
Come on out.
So folks, listen, if we can do it here, you can do it anywhere. So here we are. We're in what city?
Yerington, Nevada.
We're in Yerington, Nevada. Maybe a little windy here on the camera, but folks, literally in the middle of nowhere. And where'd you go? There you are. Internet was a struggle.
Yep.
But we made it.
We got it.
You happy with the camera?
Absolutely.
Happy with the sound?
Absolutely.
How about the vMix software?
Everything's
Piece of
great.
cake.
Everything easy. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Well, we thanks to
And-
PTZOptics and vMix. This is awesome, man.
And thank you, Greg Cherry. He's the one that got it all going.
Hey, thanks to Stephen Haywood
Thanks to Stephen Haywood
and PTZOptics.
and PTZOptics.
All right, be blessed, guys. Here we have Pastor Kerry Dyer and his wife Carolyn. We got the cameras installed, the internet fixed, new sound in. We're ready for Sunday morning worship.
Amen.
We test streamed last night with the new PTZOptics camera. It was phenomenal. Comments coming in from all over the country with just happiness. So, you guys happy?
Oh, absolutely. Like going
Amen.
from the dark ages to the current ages.
You mean
Yes.
there's dark ages here in Nevada?
Oh, of course.
There are. From the sunshine, you wouldn't get that, though, would
What a beautiful day. And folks, this just lets you know, in the middle of Yerington, Nevada, we went through a battle this week getting good internet. Upload speed is key, of course, but we're running this PTZOptics 30X NDI PoE here in the middle of the desert. So this is awesome. So thank you guys for trusting me and trusting PTZOptics and trusting Stephen Haywood, and I think we got you taken care of.
Thank you guys very much.
Yes,
We love
thank
it.
you so much.
And
It's
the
amazing.
streaming software you're using is vMix,
Okay.
Christian company out of Australia.
Awesome.
So-
Hallelujah.
Yep, so thanks.
So we are truly the world headquarters of Copper Hills Bible Church now.
This is the world headquarters.
Greg
her done.
Terry,
Hey,
you got off the camel.
dude, I got off the camel. We got it done. I do see somebody in here from Mesquite, Nevada. So greetings to you. And to, hey, I got an Oregonian out here. So we got some guys out west here with me. Yeah, I've been out here for about 11 days. I've preached. I'm a preacher too. So I've preached 5 times. I have installed 2 sound systems, a camera system, and I'm ready to head to the Reno airport here in a few hours. I'm going to catch that little bird over to San Francisco and get the red eye back to Pittsburgh. So I'll be home in the morning.
That should be a lot of fun. I think I know you've been busy back and forth. That wasn't the only church you've been to, but I want to kind of go back to something that was said in there. But before I do that, please tell me you did something with that wiring. That wiring was like
Okay.
looked like a bomb blew up on that thing.
So here's the deal. When you're under the pressure, and of course, I just wanted to document a little bit, so that the Salt Talk audience, and we have many houses of worship here, that they would just be able to see that this really is possible anywhere, So I was so focused on making sure I got a little bit of camera roll. And when I was filming that day and I came around, I'm looking at the cables hanging, and I'm in my head, I'm going, oh no, that looks like trash. So yes,
I had to rib you on it.
That was pre-cleanup. Everything is, of course, perfectly wire-tied, hidden. Everything's beautiful. So, I think Pastor Kerry said it best. So you had Pastor Kerry there, and you had his son, Pastor Kerry Jr., and it's a great church there in Yerington, Nevada. But he said it best. We've went from the Stone Ages to the modern age, and they actually had a large viewership. Even though that church is in the middle of nowhere, like family connections, because what you have in that type of location in Nevada is a lot of retirees, and their families are still located all throughout the United States, where grandma and grandpa have retired out to Nevada, and the families watch. They like to see their grandma and grandpa at church or whatever. So they literally have viewers from all over the country. And up until this point, they literally had an iPad on a stand catching the audio ambient in the room. So they have went literally from the Stone Ages to the modern age. Well, it's amazing.
I have a question for you to think about here, but I want to answer some of these questions that are coming in the chat room.
Okay.
Just put this in the back of your mind and chat room, because I know you're going to ask this. They mentioned they had some issues with internet. I really want you to get into that here in just a little bit, but let's take a look at some of these comments really quick in the chat room. We've got John Cook, and he says, do you find NDI to be as stable as SDI for use with the PTZOptics cameras, and do you ever have trouble with losing the video feed? Now, I can't speak for what you did there, and you can kind of tag that. In my studio, these cameras that you're seeing me on, any cameras I switch to, Greg's remote feed on this show, all NDI. I have walked completely away from SDI. It's hooked up just in case, but I think if you have a network set up properly, you shouldn't have any issues. Greg, what was your experience with that? I believe that's how you did the Nevada.
Listen, my answer is very, very simple. It's hard to think that you can actually send good video over a Cat5 cable, or you think in the back of your mind, man, I still need that HDMI cable or that SDI cable. And I understand that, but I'm here to tell you, my personal studio at home, which I will be so happy to be back in tomorrow,
I bet,
is 100% NDI. That church, 100% NDI. Everything that I will do as far as possible in the future will always be NDI. I have personally never had a stability issue. I have never had a signal issue. It's cleaner. There's less cables. It's, and think about that, Stephen. When you eliminate cables, you eliminate possible problems.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And there was another question here.
Happy about it.
There's another question here for you if you want to tackle this one about what connections were used to connect the audio to the mixing board.
Okay, so that was a Mackie Pro Effects 22. Here's the answer to that question. I connected the mixing board via a USB cable out into the USB in of the laptop that we purchased for them specifically for vMix. All that was required was to download the computer interface driver for that mixing board. So I'm going to make a recommendation here. If you guys are looking at this and you're saying, man, I might need to do something like that, I'm going to give you some advice. When the church contacted me and says, Greg, we really need to do this, and we know you're doing stuff with PTZOptics now, and we see your stream, we watch every night. Can you help us? I said, sure, I can. I called Stephen. We gave the measurements of the building, and I said, okay, what camera is going to be best? And of course, he calculated it all and told me the 30X is what we needed. So we got it. And then I called them back and had a video conference, and I said, okay, I need a tour of your building. I need to know what your internet speed is, download, and more importantly, upload. Secondly, I need to know, what soundboard do you have? And they took me into the sound booth. And honestly, folks, there was like a 30-year-old Mackie analog, archaic board. And I looked at them and I said, guys, I will happily come put your camera in, but unless you change your mixing board, we're wasting our time. Yep. They said, no problem. We've budgeted this. We're ready to make some changes. Just tell us what to get. So I had my audio guy, and you know, Stephen, we've talked about this. In the future, we need to do an audio program for the churches. But I had my audio guy, Chris. I called him. I said, Chris, I'm going out to this church. Church, 75 people, middle of the desert. I'm going to run NDI. I'm going to run vMix, and I'm going to run new switch, everything. What soundboard do I need for them that will be easy to use, but also connect seamlessly to a streaming laptop with vMix? He said, it's easy. Mackie ProFX 22. I mean, he just knows it. You go to a source that people know. So long story short, but I'm trying to just to give you guys some advice as well. And that is, if you really want to go this route, do not make sure you can have an interface via USB. Try to avoid conversions. Try to avoid all of that mess. Literally, it's one cable connected and it is perfection.
Yeah, I mean, I wish almost that NDI was as prevalent as it is now when I was building the studio when I moved back in 2018 in this house. Because I wouldn't have ran power. I would have done PoE. And right now, honestly, I just left it hooked up because I'd have to pull all these wires out of the ceiling and everything. So it just doesn't make sense. But it's good to have a backup. And I've seen some of the guys in here kind of backing up our answer.
Let me tell you what happened. So I'm installing, and you guys watched the video. You know, Pastor Kerry, the senior pastor, you know, he said, I'm excited.
Yeah. I think somebody mentioned it. Somebody mentioned that it was hard to hear him because he's a Navy veteran. He's a great man, and he is a 30-year veteran of Clorox out here. And then God called him into the ministry when he retired to Nevada, and it's really good. They got a great church there, and his son, grooming, will be the pastor. You know, but we're installing it there, and pull the camera out of the box, and they see the power cable to the camera, and we go in. I said, okay, where's the camera going to be? I said, we're going dead center all the way on the back wall. And I checked that when the doors closed, the wall didn't shake. You know, we've been doing this a while now, and we're checking all of that. Put the camera up there, and then they lose their mind. Greg, we forgot to put the power in. There's no electrical outlet. I said, you don't need it.
You don't need one.
You don't need it. You don't need it.
What? How is that camera going to work with no electricity? I said, it's coming through this little cable right here.
So Tess says, and I want you to get into the internet situation here. So guys that are in the chat room, we are going to get to that. But Tess, listen, guys, if you want to see that again and you want to show it to your pastor, your parsonage, whoever you need to show it to about the install, if they can do it in Nevada, you can do it too with our cameras. The PTZOptics crew, we're going to upload it to our PTZOptics YouTube page, just that clip, so you can kind of get this stuff out of the way, and you can show it to whoever you need to show it to say, look, we can do this too. So make sure you check the PTZOptics channel. If you're not subscribed, and you'll be notified when that goes up. But Greg, we were talking this week when we were going through and I had some questions. You said the internet situation was more of a nightmare than setting up the camera or the audio.
We went through 3 companies. And I know we have some folks out here that are watching from Nevada today, and Folks, unless you've been to Nevada, I wish I could show you the view of what I'm looking at. I'm at another church right now. I wish I could show you the view out. It's just gorgeous. Right over the hill from me, the mountains, is Lake Tahoe. But internet's a struggle in the rural cities. Carson City, Reno, Las Vegas, all of that's good. No problem. But you get into rural communities and internet becomes a problem. So I had sent them the specs that I wanted for that camera and for the upload speed. And I said, guys, I know you're using like microwave technology. They have to put the microwave receiver on the roof of the church. And there's lots of little companies there that do that. And I said, we need 15 megabyte upload minimum consistent. And then I could scale their stream to whatever level I need to make it good for them. Well, I got there and they had chosen a company out of Reno, big corporate company, and I won't call their name. And we went through a nightmare with them for about 36 hours because they were convinced they could give us the speeds we needed, that the speeds were coming in, that we didn't know what we were talking about. Stephen, I'm sitting there physically plugged into the router running speed test, and they have, a customer service rep in Reno talking to me on the phone going, listen, sir, you don't know what you're talking about because right now there's 17 coming down and I'm looking at 3. I said, listen, I appreciate that, but I really do know what I'm talking about here. And, we're not getting it. So in these rural areas, they were trying to snowball them, to be quite honest. And we went to a second company. Well, it came to Friday on the last day of install because we were supposed to start services Friday night, and we had 3 megabyte upload. We called a guy out of Fernley, Nevada, and he said, I can do it. And I guarantee you 25 up with the technology I'm using. We said, get out here quick. And he was a great guy. He goes, listen, this is for a church.
Yeah.
And the church is saying, we know we're calling you and you're dropping everything to come do this for us right now. And he said, I'm not going to charge you anything. I'm not going to rip you because this is a house of God and I want to do my part to help. He dropped everything, came to the church. Listen, Stephen, he climbed up on the roof and he came down off the roof with the ubiquity system the other companies were using. And he said, dude, they put up here 10-year-old technology on you guys. No way. They're trying to snowball you. He said he pulled it all down, put up all of his equipment, bro. 32 down, 27 up, nonstop. Great guy. We were rolling. And let me tell you how I tested it. Are you ready for this? I said, tonight, I'm going to blow you guys away here in Yerington, Nevada. So my stream that I do each night, updating the war in Ukraine personally, and then we were streaming from their church. I had pre-recorded my video, and I was connected to their router, and then we streamed live, and both went out at 6 p.m., and I streamed 2 full HD streams at the same time. And they're walking around going, oh my Lord, it's a miracle. The point being, it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, right now, even, when you're dealing with remote, I see your image even now goes in and out. But this is, you're in the middle of the desert. You gotta,
dude, I'm in the middle of the desert.
You gotta work with, and that's why I think a lot of people, they have a hard time because something you and I were discussing is, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. I know we touched on this in the past, but upload speed. Everybody wants to pay attention to the download speed, right? They want to pay attention to, I get 500 megs down, but you might only be getting 2 megs up. And what you said was key. I recommend at least 10 to 15 megs up if you can get that. To give yourself enough buffer, with people uploading services in the background, or you're streaming, or you're going to multiple destinations. These are things to keep in mind. You went in there blind, essentially, right? You've been to the churches before, but you didn't really pay attention to their setup.
I had been there before, just to speak,
right?
But I had told them what was required before coming. Because I live in Pennsylvania. They purchased the PTZ Optics camera. We purchased a new soundboard. We've purchased vMix. We've purchased all the peripheral equipment needed. We've done new internet. It was quite an investment for them. Yep. And it has to work.
Yep.
It has to work. And hey, we made it work. Now listen, I was supposed to have been home yesterday, but with these little bit of headaches, I love these people. This is what we do. I extended my trip because I'm not only was doing an install there, I actually was preaching in Reno and now in Carson City doing another install. So you have to be flexible. I want to help people.
So what we want to do, because we're going to have a guest here join us, I believe, in just a few.
Are.
But let's answer some questions here. There's some. They're saying, "Hey, PTZ Optics, can you answer this?" So John Cook this is a multi question here, if you will. He put in here that he's running the program out of the ATEM TVs into a DeckLink recorder, one input capture card on a PC running vMix. And then he goes on to say, wondering if I should continue to run this way or if there is an advantage of getting the NDI upgrade for the 3 PTZ Optics cameras with my current system. Before I get into the next part, the benefit to that is you will now be able to take, even if you're using the ATEM, you could have vMix running as a backup, and those NDI signals of the cameras, if you upgrade them, if you have a Gen 2, will then be able to go into vMix and still go into your ATEM because you're hardwired at the same time, so you get redundancy. The other benefit of it is you can also do recordings individually. If you have people that like to edit, you can do ISO recordings of each individual camera using NDI, because the NDI tools has that ability. You can pull it into anywhere in the church building and into the office, wherever you want. You can do that with NDI tools, and they're free. The other benefit, like Greg's doing right now, he's sending it through the NDI webcam input to me.
Mm-hmm.
So he could send his vMix to me. He could send whatever. So there's a lot of benefits to using NDI, not just for the simple fact of eliminating a power source or eliminating SDI. NDI has really, kind of taken the world by storm, if you will. He goes on to say, our cameras right now are SDI only, but I believe you can purchase the firmware upgrade for maybe $200 to add. He is correct. You can get that from, that should be up on our website, the link to where you need to go. He goes on to say here, part of my questions to have to do with the local church has asked me for advice on upgrading their AV or getting into live streaming. So maybe NDI would be good for their install. 100%. And what I would suggest to you, go back and watch the Tech Town Hall. I think it was 2 months ago, because we do it once a month. Matt Davis, our head engineer, he talks and diagrams out how you should set up the network. Greg, we went over this with you when you built your studio.
Yeah.
Based on Matt's recommendations, I redid my networking here based on it to optimize for NDI. Highly, he diagrams it all out. He breaks it down for you. You seem like a smart guy. Breaks it down for you, tells you how and what you need. I would take a look at that Tech Town Hall video, the live show that we did. We did plenty of diagrams. That will help you make sure that, like Greg did, he went in, set it up, it worked, and he's out the door. That's simple. So that'll work as well. I hope that answers your question. And Roloff here, I guess that's how you say his name. I know. I figured you were going to bust me on that because I'm not pronouncing these guys' names.
I think
right.
Roloff good, but I think Roloff Baker or Roloff Bacher.
So he says NDI is always great for a new install.
Yes, it is.
And can the link be put up for that? I can't grab the link for that right now because of producing and hosting and stuff like that. But we have a playlist for Tech Town Hall. If you go back, I believe it says network setup or it says NDI. I think it's NDI. You'll be able to find it because I think there's only 4 or 5 videos in there. I do apologize for that, but it is hard to do that. But if somebody from the PTZ Optics team is in the chat room, they might be able to put it in for you guys.
What is the studio?
No. I think it's the NDI, or if Greg can find it, Greg might be able to find it
see if I can
and put it in there before we do that. So, any other questions? Greg's going to grab our special guest here really quick, and we're going to get him in here because he's in the same situation. And guys, keep the questions coming, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the chat room in between all this stuff and try to get you we'll try to answer them as they come in.
No, I won't do that.
So, we have our guest of honor here. He's coming in here just to say he's laughing here because Greg kind of put him on the spot here. We've got Pastor Ben Waldron. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, first off, how did you get connected with this guy over here?
We've actually known Greg for years. He was coming to a church that we were a part of. So I've probably known Greg for maybe 10, 12 years here. And we've had him come to our church and speak on numerous occasions. We have been together at different conferences and stuff across the country with our denomination. So we've just developed a great relationship over time. And he's been an excellent resource to help us in whatever area we needed help in.
So one of the things I believe he came out there to help you with is your audio situation, right?
Yeah, we're transitioning to a new city. We had sold our building and moving into town and realized that the sound system we had wasn't going to cut it. So we went out, purchased a new sound system. And, like most smaller churches, you don't necessarily have somebody who can put the pieces together and just kind of get it all up and going. And we were in that boat. And so when I heard Greg was coming to Reno and then going out to Yerington to a good friend of ours with Pastor Kerry, I said, hey, can you spare a couple of days and help us put it in our sound system? He was more than happy to do it.
So what you're saying is Greg went from being a pastor to a salesman in a matter of a few days, right? Because now he showed you what he did at the other church with the cameras, and now you guys are looking at possibly upgrading your cameras and getting the setup similar to what the other church had.
Absolutely. We had, for lack of a better thing, our camera was outdated, so we had even switched to just using an iPhone. And you can imagine the headaches that go along with that, especially trying when you're doing music and nothing's clean, nothing's crisp. So we experienced those kind of issues, and so we're looking forward to as we get going to bring him back to set up the camera system and just be ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, the PTZOptics cameras, I mean, they do a lot. We run them in our church. There's a lot of churches locally. In fact, when I connected with Greg a couple of years ago, this was something that we had done. Let me ask you something, because this is something that we get it a lot in the chat room here. We get it a lot from our customers. The question always comes up, how do I convince my pastor or leader to go with this? I mean, cameras are expensive. Software to switch and make it look great is expensive. Do you get that?
I think the biggest thing is, Stephen, seeing is believing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It doesn't take long to see, like in our case, using an iPhone and going through some of the issues, or an iPad, which we did it as well at times, and going through some of the issues that you go through, that it doesn't take long for you to figure out that, when you see this, and I had a chance to take a look at what Greg did for Pastor Kerry, and because I'd seen their stream before, and then watched it after the install with the PTZOptics and the vMix. It was so night and day. It was like, okay, pull the trigger.
You got to do it.
It's like, come on.
Now, I know you don't, get into the high technical stuff, but from a simplicity factor, based on what Greg showed, a single cable versus doing 3 or 4 cables.
Yeah,
it's no brainer, right?
No, and I've been part of, before we were pastoring, and by the way, Greg mentioned that you're a pastor. He also mentioned that you're a drummer.
Yes.
And I asked him if that was possible. Can you be a pastor and a drummer? I said, I know pastors play the keyboard, and I know some that play the guitar, but I don't know any that are drummers.
Well,
I just wanted to throw that out too.
yeah. Well, it helps that my wife is the worship leader, and so everybody, you'll get people that say turn it down, it's too loud, or the drummer's playing too loud, and I'm like, you're gonna tell the pastor to turn the volume down? Come on now.
That's it.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you got
I'm just
to
kidding.
you got to have the beat. I mean, that's what anchors everything.
That's why they caged me up.
There you go. So back to the setup. Yeah, we'd been part of bigger churches earlier in earlier days, and had I mean, they were doing TV, and so they had the big 3 cameras and all of the professional setup. And it was such a pain to try and walk around and get around and have to sidestep everything, and all the things that go along with that. And then anytime you're running cables, people trip, kids, everything that goes on with that. So having one cable that you can run and set everything up, it is so clean, and it just takes away all the stress and anxiety level of when's the next person going to hit the cable and trip, when's the kid going to yank something out, all the different things that go along with that.
And I always talk to pastors about this. I always say this because more and more you're seeing the frequency, especially as Greg mentioned, a lot of people are retiring, going to Nevada, Arizona, places like that. When there's funerals and weddings and things like that, the last thing you want, because more and more people are streaming funerals, they're streaming weddings now, especially through COVID, right? So the last thing you want is to see a cameraman sitting right in the middle of the sanctuary that's focused on a body that's in a casket. I mean, it just doesn't look right? So having a camera that's discreet, that you can control in a booth, it doesn't mess up anything with like a wedding service or a baptismal or anything along those lines.
Well, exactly, and even beyond all that, then having a system that is as clear as the PTZOptics, it looks professional. The last thing you want to do is put something up that especially if you're doing a wedding, funeral, but even in church services, it's like the last thing you want to do is put up a public persona of, hey, we just get by.
That's right.
And so, if we're going to do something and we're doing something for God, we ought to make sure that we are doing it to the best of our ability, and that the setup, the look, and everything is as clean as we can make it within budgetary reasons, obviously.
So, Pastor Ben, I don't want to keep you the whole time here, but if people are interested in following your journey, because I know it's going to be probably a couple weeks, couple months before Greg gets back out there and you get things set up and with the cameras, where can they go to check out what you have? Because I think a lot of people would be interested to see where you're at now to where you're going to be. I think that would be interesting for folks.
Well, part of it is in the transition period, we've changed names. Or the name of the church had been Well of Worship, and there's a Facebook page that you can go and see the videos and what it looked like before. We don't have anything set up yet, and we're in the process of setting up our website now, and it's going to be the Well Carson City. I'm not sure. I think it's .com, but we have somebody checking on that for us and working on that. But yeah, hey, come hit us up in a little bit of time. You'll get to see firsthand, like I did. If you're thinking about the PTZOptics camera and the vMix software, you really need to see it in action. You really need to see a before and after. Once you do, I'm convinced you'll be sold.
Pastor Ben, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today here on Salt Talk Live, and I think the guys in the chat room also appreciate that as well. We look forward to seeing an update. I'm sure Greg will keep us updated with some video and whatnot. So best of luck to you in the services. Be blessed, man.
Stephen, I appreciate it. God bless you, sir.
You got it. So guys, any questions that are coming through as Greg makes his transition back in here, if you have any, throw them in the chat room. If we don't get to them, we'll definitely be answering them as we go throughout the program here, because that's what we want to do. We don't want to just talk to you guys about stuff. We also want to help you in any way that we possibly can, because Greg, as you know, it's hard to find technical people out there in the world of house of worship.
Sure is, and first I would like to say, Do I put a guest on here or what?
Yeah, hit the guest, hit it out of the park.
Dude, that was a stinking grand slam. I'm
Yes,
over
sir.
there in the new office and I'm listening and I'm going, holy moly, he's going to take my spot. But secondly, dude, he's dropping the truth bomb. And most importantly, you know, he gave you a word there that it's hard to be a drummer and a pastor. So we're golden.
It is. In fact, this week I have to preach too. So
folks, if you want,
it's one of those.
If you want a word from God, make sure you watch the stream. Pastor Stephen Haywood dropping the truth this Sunday.
So we've seen that this is going on. Are you finding more and more, because we've come out? I want to say we're at the tail end of the pandemic. Can I say pandemic, or am I going to get nailed on YouTube?
No, you're good on that one.
Okay, I'm good.
You can't say
the C word.
BIO.
Okay, well, I did kind of say it earlier, and I didn't realize it. But we're coming to the end of it. What I believe is the end of it. Okay, are you getting more and more pastors and houses of worship contacting you, going, Greg, there's so much uncertainty in the world right now, and we really need to not get caught with our pants down, so to speak, like we did with COVID. There, I said it. I'm sorry, YouTube. How can we be prepared if something like this happens in the future? Can we get online to not use an iPad, not use an iPhone? Is that something that you're hearing a lot of?
Yeah, it is actually, because you know, when the pandemic hit in March of 2020, I was in Tanzania. Before that, Stephen, and you know, I travel about 35 weeks a year.
Yeah,
I'm a 2 million miler on Delta, and I've been working, you know, actually in Russia and Ukraine for almost 30 years. I speak Russian fluently. I'm up. That's what I'm doing right now, is a lot of support for Ukraine. But with that said, now I'm starting to travel again. Even in the States. I mean, I've been out here in Nevada for 10, 11 days or something, and I've been in 3 different cities. Things are getting back to normal. But what I'm finding is, and this was all 3 churches I was at this time. We got caught with our pants down last time, but we're not going to get caught with our pants down this time. So there's 2 factors at play here. Number 1 is we need to plan ahead for the future. We need to think now. We've already seen this happen. Now we're potentially seeing World War III happen over in Europe, and we need to be prepared and able to minister the gospel. We need to be able to share the love of Christ beyond our 4 walls, because it works. The second factor that is in play, and you guys may recognize this in your churches. If there are pastors here, or even if you're in the leadership of your church and you're responsible for the AV and the audio or the music, whatever it may be, you recognize that church attendance post-pandemic has changed. Where it was pre-pandemic, people are at church every Sunday. Well, now over time, they've gotten used to a little bit of a different schedule. And now folks are at church 2-3 Sundays a month, 1 or 2 Sundays a month. You know, Pastor, I'm going to watch from home this morning because it's really good. It's a benefit because I have to run out, and so I don't have to come to church. And I'm still with you. I'm sending in my offering, all of that jazz. But I'm so thankful that our church has the ability to stream, so I can be able to facilitate other things in my life. So the world has changed. So even with the pandemic tapering out, is there still the high level need of churches to be able to electronically minister through a stream or through technology? Absolutely, more than ever. You know, I'm not going to preach now. I've preached enough being out here and doing installs, but let me just tell you this. The Bible says very clearly that the gospel is going to be preached to all the nations, to the 4 corners of the earth. How is it going to happen? It's going to happen 3 ways. It's going to happen in your local city with you sharing the good news of Christ to those that are in your area. Secondly, it's going to happen with the missionaries and mission teams, and it's not just in America, it's every country in the world working together to share the gospel. The third way it's going to happen is through technology. So the best way you can suit yourself and your ministry and your church to be who God has called you to be is to be able to minister all 3 ways: locally, outside of your local area, and through the technology anywhere in the world.
Absolutely. And I know it was great that Greg was able to go into some of that, because I was able to pull up the link we talked about earlier. If you want to look on YouTube, the link is here. It's also in the chat room, but I'm putting it up here. So if you need it for reference, Tech Town Hall, IP infrastructure and networking is what you're looking for. That's the title. There's only like 5 or 6 episodes, but that's the one you're looking for. That should help you. We also did one on NDI. So we go into different ways that NDI can assist you in your production. So that's another one good to check it out. And it's not that I want you to watch it, but it's good. It's good help for you for what you're doing. And I really appreciate Roloff's comment here, because that's exactly what we're about here. We want to help you. That's, PTZOptics is really big on helping their customer base and educating the customer base. And that's one thing we do. I feel like we do really strong here, is providing live streams that are interactive as well as videos with different hosts from the company. We're a very talented company, and we are able to deliver a message that can help you in your broadcasting. So we really appreciate you guys for tuning in and taking time out of your busy schedule to watch us, and we'll continue to up the bar, Greg. We'll continue to bring it, so to speak. Can we say that?
Hey,
bring it?
We're just getting going, brother.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
And Stephen, I really like, I don't know if Roloff did it on purpose or not, but I really like what he said. And it may have been a mistake, or it may have been on purpose. Let's call it on purpose.
Okay.
This is what this show is all about, helping houses of worship to live stream. I actually love that, because what are we to do? We're to worship, but we're to share the word. So you know what, Roloff? I think you just created a new word, and I'm going to begin to use that when I'm traveling and ministering.
There you
Worship.
go.
That's a good one, Ben.
So,
yes, sir.
We've got a question/comment in here from Brent. He says, we're preparing to add a second PTZ camera, straight on shot from the back, kind of like what you did with Pastor Kerry.
Yes.
Current PTZ 20X NDI, more up front on the side. PTZ NDI 30X, or would ePTZ work? Mounted distance will be about 80 feet from the altar. Now, I have an ePTZ PTZOptics camera, and I'll show you. It's mounted directly above me. It's for my desk, my broadcast scenario. You could probably get away with this at 20 feet, although I really like the 20X for what it is, because you can hang it upside down. You can do all kinds of things. The ePTZ works great. It's dual SDI. As you can see, it does a brilliant picture. And this is over NDI as well. So, I mean, Greg, I don't have any qualms and quarrels with the ePTZ. I just think you'll have more control for what you're trying to do in a service. Now, if you're going to do, let's say, a static shot, maybe all the way in the back of the sanctuary, and you just wanted to blast it, you weren't going to zoom it, you weren't going to do any of that, then you could probably get away with an ePTZ. Like, I use those a lot of times, like when we did your worship in the park and everything like that. I used it as what we call a dump camera. That's what I call it. Not everybody in the industry calls it that, but it's a camera that I can cut to, that I know is not moving, it's not doing anything. That's the way I chose it to be. So if we're trying to dial in other shots, if Chris is zooming in on a shot, we're not going to get that nasty zoom in a hurry. That's what I use it for. But not everybody uses it for that, but you could definitely get away with that. So,
but he asked, should they consider the? He did say here 30X. Okay.
Yes. So I would say do the 30X, even if you have.
I would too.
How long was Pastor Kerry's? I forget now. Was it
54 feet?
54 feet. Our sanctuary is 80 feet, and we use a 30X in the back, and it's still a cracking picture. I think if anything, me personally, and this might not be the 100% recommendations of PTZOptics, but I think having it extra strong in the back gives you a tighter zoom, because I know pastors, we like to hold things up. We hold things up, and if you don't have a clear enough zoom on it, the people on the internet aren't going to see it. Heck, we put up on the screen, so if you got a longer sanctuary, you want the camera to be able to zoom in on whatever you're holding. If it's a Bible, I'm just using my phone here, or if you have something else that you're showing, an artifact, whatever, you want that to be displayed clearly on the screen for those that are in the way back. So
Did you say an artifact?
an artifact, like people bring they go
Did
to
you
Israel.
discover the Ark of the Covenant?
Hey, you never know.
And you
People
not
might have
told us yet?
Hey, people bring a piece of that back. Isn't that in souvenir shops? And stuff?
Hey, let me tell you this though. Let's talk about economics for a church. We want to be good stewards of the provision that God has blessed us with. So it's pretty simple. You can look at the price point breaks on these cameras, and in my opinion, the 30X is the best value because it brings a whole different game to the table.
Your 20X in your sanctuary is what? I think we measured it was what, 18 feet from
18 feet.
18 feet from where they have it hanging from their they have a light bar.
Yeah.
They have the conduit up on there. And we ran the 20X. They could have got away with a 12X, but again, I explained to them. I said, look, if you need to do a deep zoom on something, let's say you were doing a worship night and you want to get in on that guitar player that's doing a nice little riff, or he's Pastor Greg's a keyboard player, and you want to get him bouncing on the keys. You're going to get a clearer picture zooming in a 20X than a 12X at that distance because you have more zoom available to you. So that's my philosophy. Now I get it, budget's a thing.
Sure.
But like Greg said here, if you budget for it, why not get the best that you can right now? So you're not going, man, I should have got it.
It's going to save you in the long run.
That's right.
That's it. And I actually tell a lot of churches, because I get contacted, it's like even here at the well, and that, of course that name's kind of funny because I'm in the desert and there's no water, but they named their church the Well. So, okay, whatever, we'll give them that. However, in regard to their camera system, we were talking this week because we've done a full audio system install. And when they saw the work that went into Copper Hills over in Yerington, they said, okay, we got to go that route. I said, okay, but here's the deal. I'm not going to allow you, because I know this church well, many, 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 many years. I'm not going to allow you to buy just enough for what you need now. But I want you to think ahead for what you could need tomorrow, 3 years from now. You're not going to be in this building forever. As you grow, you're going to move to another building. This is what happens, as churches grow and expand. So I want you to think about the future. So if that means you need to budget and wait 3 more months to raise the funds necessary to get the proper equipment, I would rather delay your install, get the best equipment for you that will last long term, and then do an install that everybody will be happy with.
And that's what he's saying. Brent's
I'm
saying,
a proponent of patience.
He's like, we want to do it right the first time, so thank you for the great advice. And that's what we want to do here. And there was a comment in the chat room, and I did put the link in again. I am PTZOptics in there for this show. I'm also, you'll see me as the Tech Buzz in different other productions that we do for PTZOptics. That's my personal YouTube. But if you look, I have it pulled up here. I don't know why it's not. That's why I was saying it might be beneficial to just go into the playlist. But here you can see it says Tech Town Hall, IP infrastructure and networking. I have it here, and you can see here, I'm just skipping around on the video here. There's Matt and myself. Boy, that guy needs a haircut. I know Greg always gives me a hard time with that. So
well, actually, I'm going to tell you something right now. That was a wonderful hair impersonation of Shemp. And for those of you that don't know, that's an old comedy crew from the 40s here in America. Mo, Larry, Curly, and then Shemp.
You're lucky I like you.
Dude, I'm in Nevada. I can bust on you today.
You're the one.
Steven and I live about 30 minutes apart, so we're together quite a bit and do a lot of things together. So, but now I'm 3,000 miles from him, so I'm good.
And he had to get up at 7 o'clock.
No, I was up at 6 a.m. on this.
Right, but you had to get on the call at 7 so we could test.
Yeah,
everything.
I was dragging my feet a little bit, and I've got the coffee here. It's still very, very early in the morning here. When the stream is over, you'll be going to lunch, but we'll be going to breakfast.
So, guys, what we want to do here is, again, we have the email that's out there. You can see it in the lower third here, salttalk@ptzoptics.com. Please send in any requests that you want us to go over on this show. If maybe it's just something you need convincing of your pastor to take a look at these, we could do a whole show on how, like, when I was hired, I was hired as an assistant pastor at the church. Well, actually, I was a youth pastor, but that didn't happen right away. I was just brought in as a tech guy. I was a pastor, but I had been burned at another church, and I wanted to be behind the scenes. You all know how that is. You just kind of want to do the tech stuff, be behind the scenes. But when the senior pastor saw what I was doing in my own studio, he goes, I don't care what it costs, because nothing is too expensive for God's house. He says, I want our service to look like that, whatever we got to get. So I had it a little different probably, and I think Pastor Bell, he was kind of along those lines because of
we do
radio.
It right the first time. Yes, he's former radio. And listen, this particular show has been a great program for a couple of reasons. Maybe your church is trying to make decisions. Maybe you're watching this and bringing information back to your church elders or your pastor, and you feel a little pressure on you. Ask them for an hour and sit down and watch this program, because there's quite a few things that happened here. You see a firsthand testimonial in the middle of the desert. B, on the cuff. There was no practice, no prep. You have another pastor. It's two pastors talking about what they're planning, why they're doing it, the process. So it can be a good testimonial to help other churches. And you're hearing it not from, Stephen and I, but you're hearing it from pastors saying, you know what, this works. So this could be a good benefit for you guys.
Oh, 100%. I think that everybody just it's a good resource for anybody. And again, that's why we do it. We're trying to help you guys out there. Oh, it looks like he got it working.
Got it.
The video here, I'll pull that up here. He's got it working. So I don't know if maybe YouTube blocks links, or maybe our channel is set that way that you can't post links. And I do apologize. I don't know what our IT guys have it set to do. I just have access so I can stream to it. But again, that's why I was figuring it would probably be easiest to do that. But we do want to get it more into other things. And as Greg, you said earlier in the program about doing an audio show that people can bring their audio questions. Chris is phenomenal when it comes to audio.
We'll bring him on. We'll bring him on as another guest for that program. He's a master.
And so for those that don't know, even Greg and Chris, when I had my audio set up, I'm not an audio guru, never pretended to be. I know enough to be dangerous. I ran into some issues in here, and Greg and Chris came over and helped me get some things situated, and we got things rolling in the right direction. So Zach,
listen. I know we're winding down on our hour, but that's what the body of Christ is about, and that's what this salt talk. We're to be salt and light, and we need to help each other. We got enough fighting going on around the world. We have enough battling within the churches. Let's labor together for the ultimate purpose, which is to share the gospel.
Zach Berry in the chat room over on Facebook says, "Just was able to tune in. I'll have to watch the replay." Absolutely, I think this was one of our better shows. I think in a while. I think what helped. I know when we had our former co-host and she kind of moved on, it was, I had to learn her, but I've been working with you for so long now with live shows. It just makes it simple to do this. But guys in the chat room, if there's any other questions, we got about 3 minutes, and then we're going to have to wrap this up. I'm a stickler for starting and ending on time because I don't want to waste your time. You said an hour apart to view the show, out of your day. I want to be respectful of your time. So at the top of the hour, we end it and we're going on. But I do know at the end of the summer, we are looking to go bi-monthly with the show. So that means every 2 weeks, or like maybe around the 15th and the 30th, we're going to do a show twice a month for Salt Talk, so we can give you guys more information. But again, this is where you guys got to help us out. Send us your questions. Send us topics that you want us to go over. And if we don't know the answer, I'm going to get somebody. If I got to get one of our IT guys, we'll get somebody, right?
Yes, sir.
So we want to. That's what this show is about. It's not about like getting thousands of views. I mean, that's always great too. But it's about how we can help you from the company here. How we can help you better your productions in live streaming. So looking here. not seeing any other questions, Greg. So I think we're just going to wrap it up. And if something pops up in the meantime, you guys can check him out. YouTube.com/Greg Terry Experience. And
every night.
You guys can check him out. What is it? 8 o'clock? 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock Eastern.
9 o'clock Eastern. So you guys can check him out on YouTube if you're interested in following what's going on with the war over in the Ukraine. He's doing nightly updates as well as other updates throughout the world. What he does on this on his brand, his channel. And guys, we really appreciate you tuning in. We actually got a comment in here. I'm going to pull it up with Sherwin here really quick before we sign off. He says, I was an audio engineer in our local TV station, would welcome the audio show. So we'll definitely get with Chris and see when a good time for him to come
happen.
on. But guys, make sure if you haven't done so, hit that subscribe button on the PTZ Optics channel here. Hit that notification bell so you know every single time we go live. And again, I want to bring up really quick for those that missed the beginning, the show tomorrow. You don't want to miss this, especially if you're a house of worship person. You don't want to miss tomorrow's show with Tess Protesto and team, the MIDI release. You'll have Jeffrey Robinson, who is our product manager, and they're going to show you the really cool stuff that you can do with the free new firmware for your camera with MIDI. If you're wondering what MIDI is, you're not sure what it can do, they're going to give you examples tomorrow on the show. I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. There's really some cool stuff, so check that out. And then also Tech Town Hall. Tech Town Hall, I believe it's the third Friday. We recorded ahead of time, so I'm trying to think. I think it's the third Friday of the month. We'll have that live for you guys, and you guys will be able to see as we get really nerdy and geeky into the world of broadcasting and technology and all that good stuff. So make sure you guys check that out. We really appreciate it. Check us out on all the social medias. We will see you back here next month for more Salt Talk. Have a great week and be blessed.